Hello, Ottawa. Good job, everybody, for getting out on a Tuesday. My name is Sarah. I'm 31 years old, and I recently went through a big life event. I recently became a mother. Woo! Thank you for the support, thank you. Yeah, it's true. I have a beautiful 10-month-old baby girl at home right now, and she just smells incredible to me. Like, there's just nothing better than the smell of your own baby, like their head and their face. It just smells so good. And her first word ended up being mama, which was so adorable as well. And if I could sum up like everything I've learned about motherhood in like 10 months of experience into like one main takeaway, it's that I cannot wait to never do this again. And I'll explain why. So if you take a spectrum, and on this side of the spectrum is like your pre-kid happiness, like the life you lived before you had a kid. And this side of the spectrum is full-blown postpartum depression, okay? So you see this spectrum with me? Even if you don't make it all the way over here, you're gonna navigate this gray zone, and it just depends on the day and luck of the draw which way you're gonna head on the spectrum. So I'll give you a quick example of what I'm talking about, okay? So in my pre-kid happiness brain, I never imagined that a scenario could unfold that would require me to go from pooping on the toilet to full-blown sprinting, okay? Like, I just didn't know, like, that sort of thing existed before I became a mom. Like, I always assumed there'd be time to wipe, right? Like, or, like, at the very least, time to stop pooping. I figured I might be picking up a bit of poop off the floor, but I never thought it would be mine. Like, you lose your humanity in those moments, you know, you slide down that spectrum. Anybody would, right? Another thing I never expected was to spend my first 5 days as a mother wearing nothing but a pair of Depends. So for those of you who don't know what those are, I'll explain it. You've for sure seen the commercials. There's always like a 50-something woman. She's always got like a gray bob, and she's wearing a skirt, and she's twirling, and she looks super happy. But she's peeing her pants because Depends are disposable underwear designed to throw away. So fun fact about pregnancy is when you gestate a human being, you actually need 40% more blood in your system to support that process. But when it's done, that blood needs to come out. So I had to wear Depends for my first 5 days as a mother. So for me in those days, dressing up was like changing my Depends, right? Like pulling a crisp one out of the 40-pack just doesn't feel the same as like putting on a cute party dress or something, right? Like you just slide down the spectrum. Like it's hard to feel good in these moments. So my midwife gave me a great tip, and this isn't actually a joke. This is like a real tip. If you know anyone who's like a breastfeeder or is going to be a breastfeeder, she told me eat a lot of protein, because the more protein you eat, the more filling your breast milk will be. The baby will sleep longer. So I took this like so seriously. So one morning I woke up and the baby was still sleeping and my husband was still sleeping. And I was like, you know what? I think we have some beef ribs in the fridge. I'm gonna start my day off right with a beef rib, right? Like no one's awake. So of course I'm wearing my Depends, and then picture like my day my body like 5 days postpartum, or picture like a lost balloon from a birthday party that like floated into another room, like nobody knew that it was there, it just like shriveled for a while. So I'm eating the rib with my hands, but I'm just like, whatever, like I'm gonna just own this. Like I have a daughter now, I wanna own everything I'm doing, even if she's not looking. So I just eat the rib, I clean my hands and face, and I start to get a little fired up. Like I had a great breakfast, I've got some red meat coursing through my body. I'm like, you know what? I think I could be sexy again. I'm getting a little overconfident. So I go change my Depends, and I'm like, I'm gonna go cuddle my husband. So I crawl into bed with him, and he puts his arms around me, and he goes, hey, sweetie. And I say, hey, and he goes, is this rib sauce on your back? Like I can only own so much, right? Like my breaking point just happens to be like Depends, balloon body, like rib sauce on my back. Like that's just where I cannot muster like being sexy. So I just slid down the spectrum, like another day I guess I'll be sexy, right? Yeah. So another thing about breastfeeding is your breasts get a lot bigger. So in the height of this for me, like I would wake up every morning like a size E, and then I would go to bed like a saggy D. So just isolating boobs alone, like nothing else in my life, I was up and down that spectrum every day. Like wake up like a porn star, go to bed like a grandmother, just every single day up and down the spectrum, right? So thank you so much. So a whole bunch of my friends ended up getting pregnant at around the same time, and I happened to be the first one to have the baby. So they were like, tell us what's gonna happen. Like, what's the craziest thing that happened to you? Like, tell us. We want to be prepared. So I was like, okay, I'll tell you. So one day, my husband was taking a nap with our baby girl. It was just like a beautiful moment, just lying on the couch. So I walked into the room and I was like, hey, sweetie, I'll take the baby because I'm gonna need you to do something for me. I need you to Google image search the word uterus and pay really close attention to those results and tell me if mine is in our toilet. I'm like, I'm sorry, like, I know that's so horrifying, right? Like, that actually happened to me. Like, I literally spent like an entire day, like, not sure if my uterus fell in the toilet. And when I called the midwife to tell her, the receptionist was like, right, you called earlier. And I was like, no, I didn't. But that means that 2 women in the city of Ottawa thought their uterus fell in the toilet on the same day. That's the spectrum for you, right? Like, I hope she was doing okay that day. I know I wasn't. And when you're not at your best, you know, it's hard to be a good parent. It's really challenging. And I always find it really confusing, like how to dress my child for different weather, different temperatures. Like, I never know what to do. So I asked my midwife, and she's like, it's simple. Just give her 1 more layer than you have on, and she'll be fine. But sometimes when I'm having like a bad day, like the day where like I don't know if my uterus is in the toilet, I don't feel like wrestling her into another layer. So I just take one off myself, and I just like convince myself I feel fine. Thank you guys so much. That's my time.
Sarah Van Hooydonk.